Okay, I'm here to tell you that a Fox News propagandist was right about something, but I am not telling you this to suggest that this is a good person overall. I'm merely telling you every once in a while, the right does something so depraved that even the worst of the worst right wing clown propagandists say, this is too much for me and it's a bad idea. And I'm talking about Fox News host Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity came out against the outrageous armed protesters who have been showing up with long guns and handguns, demanding states open businesses and stop the coronavirus public health measures that actual doctors and public health officials have determined are necessary. Let's take a look at the clip from Hannity's program.
Down policies. Michigan, now I don't like this part. In Michigan, I'm the number one supporter in radio and television that I know of, First Amendment and the Second Amendment. Now, no one is a bigger defender of the Second Amendment than yours truly. Everyone has the right to protest, protect themselves, and try to get the country open. This, with the militia look here and these long guns, no. Show of force is dangerous. That puts our police at risk. And by the way, your message will never be heard, whoever you people are. No one should be attempting to intimidate officials with a show of force. And God forbid something happens, then they're going to go after all of us law-abiding Second Amendment people. I had a carry permit my whole life. All right.
So he's right. I mean, these armed protesters are outrageous and it's dangerous and it's a bad idea. And Hannity has sort of stumbled across the right position the way a drunken guy at a bar sometimes stumbles back to their car before driving drunk and crashing the vehicle. Hannity also has personal reasons, like he doesn't want the focus being on his guns, which he thinks it might be if these nuts keep showing up with rifles to state capitals around the country. And actor John Cusack actually made a similar analogy. He tweeted, quote, "Nah, not interesting. Like a blackout drunk slurring an apology after he crashed into innocent people. He's a deranged, pathological liar, enabler for a death cult. Nothing he says has any adult human value." Now, I generally agree, but I think that there is some value here. One reason that this is more than just a broken clock being right once or twice a day is we know Hannity has a huge real world influence on his audience. A couple weeks ago, we saw a study that found that people who watch Hannity as a primary news source over Tucker Carlson, another Fox News host, the Hannity watchers are more likely to have gotten coronavirus, realistically, because Hannity was more against the lockdowns and downplayed the seriousness of the virus earlier on. His viewers saw that and were encouraged to participate in riskier behavior, which made them more likely to catch the virus. So this actually does affect people. And the point is that this is something, when you think about the role that Sean Hannity has for his audience, he's seen as like a demigod by many of his viewers. And if he says the armed protesters don't make sense, this is too much, doesn't make him a good person, doesn't make him right about anything else that he said, but it actually might mean one of his viewers, decides not to show up with a long gun. And we're all better off for it. We're all better off in every sense. But let me step back for a second. I'm going to be perfectly frank with you here. I actually share Sean Hannity's frustration with the protesters, but I also share the frustration of the protesters. I don't own guns. I'm not showing up to protest, and I don't think that the governors are the people we should be protesting. But I am outraged and frustrated and saddened that what we've been doing hasn't worked because there's been no proper federal coordination of a functional national plan to deal with the virus. So I'm with the protesters in that I believe what we've done has been worse for the economy than it had to be. But we don't want to blame the governors for that. We need to be blaming Donald Trump's administration. The process should have been on day one of a confirmed case. That was January 20. The Trump administration should have immediately developed a working test like South Korea did. It wouldn't be reasonable to expect that Trump would shut things down when we had like 15 cases. But remember that March 5th, we already had 221 cases in the United States. On March 5th, Trump should have come out and said, let's do a coordinated 50-state shutdown. What we saw then happening in China, remember, March 5, China had 80,000 cases and we had 200. That should have been enough. When you look at Italy on March 5th, Italy already had 4,000 cases on March 5th. So we knew how quickly it could spread in other countries as well. If on March 5, Trump had said, we're shutting it down, I need all 50 governors to do this with me. We're going to do this for, we wouldn't have known at the time how long, but today is May 5th, right? We would be 60 days in to a federally coordinated shutdown. The spread would have been cut dramatically. We wouldn't now have New York and Massachusetts going down while Georgia, Florida, and Texas are exploding, right? We could actually have coordinated this from the top and really be looking at reopening now. Instead, we're in a situation where CDC and FEMA believe we might be at 3,000 deaths a day by June 1st. Italy's cases are way down. Spain's cases are way down. France's are way down. South Korea, they managed to keep this to a couple of hundred deaths total. And we still have 1,000 to 2,000 deaths a day. And states are opening prematurely and cases are spiking. So my point is this. If you want me to join the protesters in saying this was mishandled, this didn't need to be this bad for the economy, I'm right there with you. But protesting governors with guns is not the right answer. The right answer is hold the people accountable who did the wrong thing. The federal coordination failed us. Those who should be held accountable are in Washington, D.C. And of course, there are governors also acting irresponsibly by wildly opening up or never closing. Let's hold them accountable now, and let's hold them accountable in November as well. One of our sponsors today is a game called Lawgivers, a turn-based political simulation game for PC, iOS, and Android. If you've ever wanted to start a political party or run for office or shape the destiny of our country, here's your chance. I've been having a ton of fun with the game. You do get to experience legislative democracy up close, and the dynamics of the game are really impressive. You make election promises to your constituents. It's up to you whether you keep those promises when you're in office. All of the laws you pass affect your country's happiness and safety, healthcare, environment. You can abolish laws that are already in place. You can ratify the Constitution. You decide if you want the government to be a healthy democracy or authoritarian tyranny. You can be corrupt and take bribes. Political assassinations are part of the game. It's nuts, actually. It's a really good time. It doesn't get old because you'll never play it the same way twice. This is not some cheesy free-to-play game. It's very clear that a lot of time went into the development. It has very positive reviews on Steam and in the app stores, 4.5 stars or higher on all platforms. Go to davidpakman.com/game, which is where you can watch the trailer, download the game for Steam, iOS, and Android. That's davidpakman.com/game.